Perfect. Well, I'm just going to jump in with a screen share. Great. So welcome, everyone. We're excited to have you along. Like I said, we're going to be taking you on a bit of a highlights of our hidden spots within California. Kind of made this a little bit systematic. So we're going to start from at the bottom and work our way up, and then maybe we'll come back down. So we might do a little bit of a loop. I love a loop. So something that's a little bit of fun. But I thought the first place, actually, one of the first California trips I did, and you came along, which was actually one of our super fans. So those who've been on our super fan will possibly know this destination, might have been to this destination, but Borrego Springs, part of the desert regions. If anyone's been, you will know it's a great time, but we did a super fan finale there. What year was that? 2016, I'm going to say.
Yeah, I want to say 2016. Yeah.
Yeah, and we went there. It was a destination that I was not super familiar with, but it was a great place to take everyone. And so we're going to kick off that with our hidden gem. So Borrego Springs, famous for its big kind of, what do you call these, like monuments, but they're not really monuments.
So they have a lot of these art sculptures in the desert, so mainly of sort of dinosaurs and kind of sea creatures, which I think makes it quite unique because it's not something you're expecting to see in the middle of this desert. And they have them all around, so you can actually do a really interesting driving tour around there. But yeah, it's so anyone who's keen in photography, it's quite a cool place to go because you have the dramatic landscape backdrop against these incredible art sculptures. So always quite good if someone, I think a client is saying to you, where can I go and photograph this? And also great for night sky photography as well. Obviously, being the desert, very little light pollution. So yeah, another good place to go and do a bit of stargazing in and nighttime photography.
Yeah, and just in terms of location for everyone where Borrego Springs is, so closest airport, if you're flying from the UK, is going to be San Diego. It sits as a part of the Palm Springs or Greater Palm Springs region, so it's right at the bottom of the Salton Sea. So you kind of got Palm Springs at the top, you come down the Greater Palm Springs Valley, Coachella at the bottom, then you cut onto the Salton Sea, and then Borrego Springs kind of sits there. I loved it also is a bit of a celeb hideaway too. A lot of the celebs like the Rat Pack, those guys used to go and hang out there when they wanted to get away from the Palm Springs chill. They'd kind of go there. It also has a really big expat British community there, which I didn't realize until we went there. And the kind of one of the key hotels there, the Casa del Zorro, owned by a British guy. And he also owns the Borrego Springs Gazette or whatever.
Yeah, the Sun, which I believe it's called, or the Borrego Sun, I think it's called. He bizarrely used to be the tour manager for Black Sabbath, so has many stories. Yeah, he bought some property out there, owns a local newspaper. But yeah, it's a great place. Not many people will know about it. And as Brendan was saying, it's sandwiched between San Diego and Greater Palm Springs. If you can imagine just sort of drawing a diagonal line between them, it's almost bang spot in the middle. So really easy for people to get to from the airport or to work into an itinerary if they're going up to Palm Springs from San Diego, and just very small but very chilled out, very close-knit local community, but great to spend a night or two. And I think that's probably all you need, right, Brendan? I'd say a night or two there.
Yeah, exactly. It's a night or two for sure. Yeah. Amelia's just asked, would you day trip to Borrego from San Diego? Yes, it'd be a great day trip. About an hour and a half to 2 hours. I'd say an hour and a half from San Diego. So quite an easy, a nice easy drive out there. And it's cool landscape too, the drive out there too from San Diego.
Yeah. Is that, and I think, do you go over Julian as well, the little mountain town? Maybe
I think you do, yeah.
Yeah, but yeah, definitely easy for a day trip. And I think just if people want to get out into the desert but don't want to go up as far as Death Valley or don't have time to go to Palm Springs, this is a great little way to give them a slice of that from the city in San Diego, and to see the artwork and have a meal, and yeah, some cool architecture around as well.
Yeah, exactly. Right, so if we head up, and we've kind of mentioned the Salton Sea, so one of my favorite attractions that I actually went to the first time last year. Salvation Mountain. Now this is a quirky place. It's in a town called Slab City that feels very interesting. Is that probably the best way to put it?
Yeah, that's one way I put it. Yeah, it's interesting.
It's a very rural town, but from Palm Springs, it's kind of down kind of at the bottom end of the Salton Sea. And the Salton Sea, we actually hadn't planned to necessarily talk about that, but that is also a really cool spot. But it's a really cool drive actually, down from Palm. You know, if you're staying, you know, Indian Wells or Palm Desert up in Palm Springs, like the drive down is about an hour and a half. So it's quite a way. I always thought Palm Springs was closer together, but actually it's like a lot more spread out than I remembered. I remember the first time going there, but yeah, this is basically a guy built a mountain out of basically it's old tires. It's kind of rubbish, and it's a big art kind of piece. Great for the Instagrammers. Instagrammers love it. During Coachella time, it's really busy because everyone pops down there to get, you know, do all their pictures. But you can climb up and down it. You can walk around it. There's bits you can't climb up, but there's like kind of paths so you can walk all the way around it. And actually, this photo then just shows you a portion of it. Actually, if you kind of disappear to like the right side of the screen, there's it kind of keeps going, and there's little inlets you can kind of explore.
Yeah, it's an interesting story. The guy who built it, I think from memory, his name is Leonard Knight. He basically came back from the Vietnam War and decided that he was going to dedicate his life to God. So you'll see it says God is love. So it was built from, I guess, you know, religious symbolism, but he basically the rest of his life dedicated himself building this as a kind of symbol of hope and trying to give art back to the community. So it's quite an interesting story, and he died maybe about 6 years ago. So now there's been a big move to try and protect it, keep the maintenance on it going. But you might recognize it from a lot of, as Brendan was saying, Instagram, but also quite a lot of fashion brands use it as backdrops. I think like boohoo.com, you know, or Pretty Little Thing, one of those ones. You might see, because of the obviously bright colors, it stands out quite a bit, but quite a few fashion brands use it as backdrops. But what I would say is if you do go there, get there early. I don't know what time you've been down to see it before, Brendan, but I think when I went, it was about 7 a.m, and it's worth getting up early for if you want to explore it alone or take some pictures and not have, you know, crowds in it, because it is becoming more popular. But it's worth the drive, as you were saying. The town is a little interesting. It's just a local community. It's yeah, quite rural. So there's nothing. If you're sending clients there, that it's not the kind of place you would stop off and have lunch and kind of mooch around. It's more you go to drive to see Salvation Mountain and then you go on somewhere else. It doesn't have lots of amenities around it.
Yeah, exactly. Nice to like, yeah, I think I was there for about an hour. What I thought was interesting, you can bring paint, and so you can donate. So there's like a big spot where you can like donate paint and stuff, which is pretty cool, and they can use. So yeah, it's like really cool. Lots of artistic people.
Yeah, and if you've got kids, teenagers, like this is a really cool thing for them to go and photograph and put on Instagram as well. So
yeah,
and people wouldn't necessarily know about it or know how to get to it. They might have seen it, but they wouldn't know where it's located. So definitely a good inside tip, Brendan. Well picked.
Right. Michael just asked a question and said, what's my favorite national park in California and why? Which is a great question, Michael. Personally, my favorite, it's an interesting one because it's quite a lot of, and they're all different. And that's what I love about California. All our national parks are just so different. So maybe I'll tell, and then maybe Emma's going to tell us what hers is. For me personally, it's Death Valley, actually. I went to Death Valley for the first time last year. And I was there at a really weird time. Because Death Valley's lowest point in the US, it's generally known as being like really, really dead. It's not a lot because not a lot grows there. But I was there in when was it, February, and it's absolutely, we had a massive storm come through, so I kind of saw it. We had like flash flood warnings. while we were there, but we had this mixture of like, it was quite hot, you know, some days it was, you know, 30 degrees, and then the next day it was like freezing cold. I had a hoodie on, and yeah, it was we had like kind of weird extreme temperatures, but down on the Badwater Basin, I had, it was kind of, because it had rained, it had this like kind of like almost like a puddle across it, and it was really cool. And I just think the landscape there was just so out of this world, nothing like I've ever seen.
And you stayed at the Oasis, didn't you?
Yeah, we stayed at the Oasis, and you know, it was super low season, so there wasn't a lot of people there. So but yeah, it was really cool. And actually, I was with my colleague, who was with Ali who is in our Canada office, and she's like a massive photographer. So we went out hiking at night, just the two of us, like to get night sky shots, and so we got some pretty cool night sky shots and just the stars and everything. Yeah, it's just really cool. Tom was just saying he's been there and it was 47 degrees. Yeah, that's Death Valley. It is hot in the summer. Hottest night of my life, Wendy. Yeah, I don't disagree, especially in that RV. Emma, where is your favorite place? Where's your favorite national park?
I would probably say Lassen Volcanic National Park, which is right up in the north. It is a totally different side of California than you would expect, and I think we're going to mention a little bit about Shasta later, but it's, a lot of people don't travel up beyond sort of 2/3 of the state. So if you imagine the third is split, the state is split into 3 chunks. You know, the first chunk is Southern California and a little bit of the Central Coast. The second chunk is the Central Coast up into the north, so Bay Area, wine country, Tahoe. Then there's a whole nother third on top of that, and people don't generally travel up beyond wine country. So you see a totally different side of California. It's a lot more rugged. It is very dramatic inland scenery. I don't want to compare it to another state, but if I had to, I'd say it's quite like Yellowstone. It has what am I thinking about? They have like the volcanic geysers and yeah, kind of bubbling
carpets.
Yeah, so if anyone's interested in geology, like it's an amazing place to go. But just not something you'd expect to see in California. And then you have Mount Shasta at the top end of it as well, which is just absolutely out of this world scenery. So yeah, probably that, just for the difference of the rest of California. And again, it's very quiet because not a lot of people go up there. So I think you get a lot of, yeah, kind of solitude, which is really special.
Yeah, awesome. Kathleen had just said she was there when it was 45 degrees, throwing ice and melting before it hit the ground. Yeah. You did mention the racetrack. So the racetrack is where the sliding stones are. So in Death Valley, there's a spot up there for those that don't know. And it's a bit of a mystery. I know there's been a few people up there doing science experiments, but the rocks effectively move throughout the day and they leave a trail, which is like the racetrack. We didn't have enough time to get there. It's like Death Valley's massive as a park, and we didn't have time to. Unfortunately, I really wanted to get there, but with the flash flooding, we kind of stayed a little bit more closer to home. So we did like Stovepipe Wells, the dunes on our way out. Badwater Basin, Zabriskie Point, the Painted, Artist Palette, that's what I'm trying to think of. But yeah, unfortunately, we didn't quite get that far up. But hey, I always say next time, that's on my list to explore.
That's a good point, though. It is so massive. If you're speaking to clients about it, you just have to make sure. And you know, I do this when I'm planning trips for journalists, that the amount of time you think you need to drive in there and to look around, you'll need more, just because purely the size of it is so big, and obviously the temperature. You really have to be careful about what hours of the day you're out in and how long people are driving for. So just something to bear in mind, I guess, kind of obvious.
For sure, yeah. Next on our journey is we're going up, so just north of Death Valley. We're going to go to a place called Bodie. I look at this picture, it looks like it's a photo, like it looks like it's a it looks like a model almost, like they're all like little model houses. I really like this photo. But this is Bodie. So Bodie was a silver mining town, and it's just outside Mammoth Lakes, and Lee Vining, which is the yoga entrance into Yosemite National Park. And so it's just really cool. It's been incredibly well preserved. But it's basically a place where people just walked out one day. Like they did silver mining there, then I guess the silver ran out and everyone just left. And because of where it sits within the High Sierra, it gets snow in the winter, and then it gets kind of the extremes. But it's one of those towns that's just, it's weathered really well, and it's just really uncanny. You can't get there in the winter months. They have the road closures because it goes up at altitude. But yeah, it's just a really cool place. You can get in, walk through all of it, some of the saloons and some of the buildings. So they've really done a good job to preserve it. I don't know, have you managed to go there?
Actually, I never have. I was on a ski trip in Mammoth Lakes, as you mentioned, and we had the choice of either doing another day on the mountain or going to Bodie. So I chose another day on the mountain, and half the group I was with chose to go to Bodie. But I mean, one of the guys who went there, he will literally text me every couple of months and just say, like, I can't stop thinking about Bodie. I think more to take the mick because I never went. But he just said it was amazing. It's, you know, they call it this state of arrested decay, because everything is as it was when it was left. So I think it can be a little eerie, but actually incredible. You walk through the town, you can peer in, you can go into the buildings, and you know, by all accounts, it's pretty much as it was when people upped and left. So I think if you've got clients who are driving up the 395, heading out of Death Valley or coming down that way, and the road is open, you know, if it's in the summer months, as Brendan was saying, definitely worth popping in and taking a look. And there are tour guides as well who will take you around and tell you a bit about the history.
Yeah. So it's a place I just think it's kind of a bit underrated. But if you're staying, you know, doing that drive from Vegas, you know, Vegas not technically California, but it's unofficially like a California city. But on your road trip, you're going to come up, you know, Death Valley, and like I said yesterday on your road trip, staying in Mammoth Lakes. It's worth exploring around the lakes area, and so this is a good option to do on that day rather than just going straight into Yosemite National Park. Leads me on to the second one, Mono Lake, and Mono Lake is so it's in a town called Lee Vining, so it's about 20 minutes outside of Mammoth. Bodie's about 30 minutes outside of Mammoth, and then Mono Lake is it's a really salty lake, and so what you'll see on the screen there is these big white pillars, and these are what they call the tufas, and the tufas are effectively like a salt limescale pillar that's growing out of the lake. It kind of gives almost like it feels a bit like lunar-esque, I think, in terms of landscape. And what I really love about Mono Lake as well is, so right where the Tioga Pass off the 395 goes up into Yosemite National Park. So you've got this big lake, so you can't help but stop and check it out. You can go on a boat cruise on the lake, but what I recommend is a little kind of hidden spot. So most people go to Lee Vining, which is the welcome center there, and that gives you a good view. If you travel just down the road, there's a small sign that you'll go past. If you're coming from Mammoth, it's kind of if you're coming from Mammoth up towards where the Tioga Pass is, you'll see it as well, and it's a little sign that says South Tufa Beach, and that's where this picture in particular is taken from. But South Tufa Beach means you can get down and walk on the beach, and you can kind of walk amongst the pillars. It's a nice little kind of detour off 395 to go and check it out. Pam, what super fan was that you went on? I went to Mono Lake on a super fan. That's awesome. We love to try and get people involved in that. Also, you want to rate a really, really good lunch spot while we're talking hidden gems. Just here in this town called Lee Vining, there's a gas station, the mobile gas station, and there they have a sandwich place called Wonelli Deli. Oh, that place is just amazing. Again, it's seasonal. It works in conjunction with when the Tioga Pass is open, but it's 100% you won't be disappointed. It's a great lunch stop.
Nice. Haven't been.
Yeah. Tom, stop there. Yeah, you know what I mean then, Tom. Michael's also asked about wine country. I'll talk about wine, I think, in a little bit. So we'll catch up. So after Mono Lake, I'm trying to think where we're going next. Oh, Hetch Hetchy.
Jen's asked what the name of the
the deli is Whoa Nelly, WHOA, like whoa Nelly Deli.
Nice.
It's very hippie chic, yeah.
Yeah, a lot of California. That's a great way to describe it, hippie chic.
Yeah. So I'm going to talk. So Hetch Hetchy's my next. Oh, you camped. Oh, I remember that year. The last time we ever did camping on a super fam. So hope you enjoyed that time.
Oh, I think Andrea took that one, didn't she?
Yeah, I think she did. Yeah.
I remember her talking about seeing tarantulas in like in Yosemite or something with the camping and a tarantula.
Yeah.
If that's the right one, I'm thinking. Oh, yeah.
Yes, it was. So this is a picture of Hetch Hetchy. So Hetch Hetchy, technically in Yosemite National Park. However, this actually sits on the Tuolumne side of Yosemite National Park. So it sits kind of on the opposite side. Most people, when they go to Yosemite, they want to go see the valley floor. And the valley floor is great. It's fantastic. We can see El Capitan, Half Dome, Glacier Point. We do all the, we do our classic, we're going to hike Yosemite Falls, or we're going to hike Vernal Falls, the Mist Trail, something like that. Hetch Hetchy's, so it sits up near Groveland, is the kind of the town just before you come into the park. So it's actually technically in the park, but what's nice about What's nice about Hetch Hetchy is technically you don't have to pay to go into this section, because it's not in through the main gates. It sits just outside, but you kind of so if anyone sells Evergreen Lodge in Yosemite, Hetch Hetchy is really close to that. Rush Creek Lodge as well. They're actually sister properties, Rush Creek and Evergreen. So they sit kind of on the Groveland end. But Hetch Hetchy is a massive reservoir, and it's just absolutely stunning. And it's I think it's just really underrated, and people, it's just the scenery around there is just so incredible and so awe-inspiring. There's some like really cool drives through, and kind of like you feel like you're in the middle of nowhere driving on what feels like a road that I shouldn't be on, but it will take you all the way down there, and it's just absolutely beautiful and absolutely stunning place to go. It's a place that I discovered last year, first time. I've kind of known about it, but I managed to get myself there last year, and it was really, really fun just to have a bit of a walk around. And it's you can stand on the reservoir, and it used to provide a lot of the hydroelectricity for San Francisco. So that's so it's like super important in California as a place. Hetch Hetchy is way quieter than the valley floor. It's more of a day trip, depending on where you're staying. If you're staying out on that kind of Rush Creek Lodge or Evergreen Lodge, but both those properties too are really good because they're technically not in the park. So that's quite nice. You don't necessarily pay the full park prices, but they're both really nice properties, kind of good solid 4 stars. So good properties to do a neg contract through all your usual contractors.
Yeah, I think that's the beauty of, as you said, everyone wants to go and do the valley floor, and absolutely you should spend time going to see those iconic parts of the park. But what is it? The valley floor is 5% of the whole of Yosemite.
Yeah, of Yosemite.
Like that. So it's so small compared to actually what the rest of Yosemite is. We always try to encourage people to get out into that wilderness area. And wilderness doesn't necessarily mean you're going off on like a mega hike or something, or you're camping for 5 days. It's as simple as driving up to somewhere like Hetch Hetchy. Absolutely breathtaking. People, you won't see many people there at all. It's definitely worth adding in some time to go do that, I think.
And it's a really nice drive in. You drive in and you kind of you do like the Hetch Hetchy drive trail. So you kind of drive along the trail as you come down, and it effectively does like a loop back on itself. So it's kind of a one-way system. So it's quite nice. So yeah, highly recommend checking it out or getting your clients to check it out for something different. Next up, we're going to go right. Oh no. Again, Lake Tahoe, one of my favorite places in California. So Sand Harbor is absolutely stunning. And for those that have been to Tahoe, a lot of people have been to Tahoe and never know about Sand Harbor. And so that's why I kind of put it on. It actually sits technically on the Nevada side, so it's not technically California, but Tahoe is kind of predominantly in California, but it sits just kind of the Incline Village side, so it's really close to the Hyatt Regency, which everyone sells, and it's a fantastic lakeside property in Tahoe. But Sand Harbor is just where you see that crystal blue water, like you can see, and the rocks, and it's actually quite deep, that water too, and I think that's what's quite unique, because actually you look at that and you're like, oh, it looks quite shallow, but actually that water gets quite deep. And the best way to experience Sand Harbor, there's a few companies now that have just launched in the last year that do glass bottom kayaks, so see-through kayaks, and so you can kayak along on the lake, and you literally are kayaking all over the rocks, and it's just absolutely stunning and beautiful in there. And I just feel like this is a bit of a hidden gem because of where it sits. People tend to, they do the South Shore, they do up on the North Shore, like might drive around the lake, but even if you're driving around the lake, the amount of times that people will just miss this, they'll just kind of drive past and not realize how pretty and beautiful this place is. It's a nice, there's a car park you can stop at, walk down, you can actually swim in there if you want. It is cold, always cold. It's alpine, so but it's it's just a really cool place to go and do. Obviously you've got Emerald Bay. Emerald Bay, I think, is like the most popular. Yeah, I love Emerald Bay too.
Yeah, south, yeah, nice.
And this is kind of that's why I kind of say it's a bit more of a hidden gem, because you see it. If anyone has a Fire Stick, this will be a picture that actually comes up, or if you put the screensaver on, I always see it come up on my screensaver, and I'm just like, I love Tahoe.
Yeah, this is making me seriously want to go.
I know, yeah. I'm feeling gypped that I didn't get my ski trip this year in Tahoe, but hey ho.
Actually, and whilst we're talking about Tahoe, this is on the south side, but if anyone is sending clients to South Lake Tahoe, one of the best sushi restaurants I've ever been to is called Naked Fish.
Oh yeah.
We have one in San Luis Obispo, but for some reason it just is never as good as the one in South Lake Tahoe. So it's in Heavenly, which is the main ski resort in South Lake Tahoe. Just on the main road. I can't remember what the main road going along Heavenly is. But it's Naked Fish, fantastic sushi restaurant. So if you've got any clients who are staying there, and that they don't want to go over to the casinos one night, or they don't want to eat in their restaurant, then I'd really recommend going and having sushi there. It doesn't sound like the kind of place that you'd find good food, but it's really fantastic.
Yeah.
And yes,
right.
Lake Tahoe really is that clear. Honestly,
Yeah.
Google it. It's absolutely incredible.
Yeah, and they have it's all because it's alpine, the way the water runs off the mountains and into the lake, and they're really protective of the lake as well, like no dumping of stuff in there. It's all about keeping that Tahoe blue lake.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So this is a unique beach. I don't know too many places in the world that are like that, but Glass Beach in Mendocino. We call it Mendocino?
Yeah, it's Mendocino.
Yeah. Have you been to Glass Beach, Emma?
I have not, no. So I guess Mendocino could be included within that top third I was talking about that people don't go to because it's on the north coast. Just if you carried on going through Sonoma, carried on going up the road, it's on the north coast of California. So again, it's one of those spots that people don't necessarily go to, but I haven't actually made it to Glass Beach myself.
Yeah, it's really cool because the rocks look like they do there. Like it's not. I will say, it's not as good as it used to be. It's definitely suffered with a bit of tourism. and people taking stuff from the beach, which is like highly a no-no. But it's just a really cool, kind of reminds me a little bit of some of our British beaches that were, you know, pebbly, but this is just really cool because they're all like different colors. And this picture is great because it's at sunset, so it gives like they actually like come alive. And probably the best time to go visit is at sunset. But yeah, it is such a really cool, it's a really cool beach in Mendocino, and so kind of getting on that, you know, undiscovered or, you know, the less traveled Highway 1. So that's why I just wanted to include that as a really good kind of place to stop and maybe grab some lunch, have a picnic on the beach. I love a picnic. But yeah, something like that to do.
Yeah, and it was actually it was all bits of rubbish that was initially in the sea that got broken up, and over the years got all the bits of kind of glass and rubbish got smoothed down to make these sort of kind of pebbles like you see. So it's actually quite an interesting story that it could have turned out to be a horrible looking beach, and I guess nature's dealt with it in a really special way. So
yeah, it's so awesome. Sierra Nevada Brewing. So most people, you may have heard, you know, if you talk California beer, we talk Sierra Nevada as one of our popular. It's actually technically a microbrewery, and one of the leaders in the craft brewery world. Founded it up in Shasta, actually. So up in town's called Chico. So it's just outside Redding, kind of on north of Sacramento. And yeah, so it's Sierra Nevada Brewing, still where they brew. They actually have just opened a location on the East Coast to help with European export, but everything's kind of run out of the main storage here. So I'd like to include it because it's something different, and they do some really good tours. They have a tasting room there that does amazing food. They sell these things in the restaurant called, well, they do hot pretzels, but they do them with their Sierra Nevada dipping mustards. They have a bunch of different mustards that you can go, and they're all made out of the beer, so like the pale ale or a stout or a porter, and so they take them so you can you can go and enjoy those mustards. They're absolutely amazing. I brought some home with me last year, and like tried to use them sparingly, but it's just so good. But yeah, and Tom's got some Sierra Nevada in the fridge right now, of course. But they do a really good factory tour. And one thing that I really liked about this, and I guess something I just wanted to highlight, is from a sustainability aspect. So they grow a lot of their hops on premises, and they try to be as much self-sustaining as possible. So as a brewery, they're not importing stuff. They do import some bits, but for the most part, everything is kind of done on site, on premises. Everything from the bottling, the producing, the brewing, to the growing, etc. So that's the nice thing about being up in northern rural California. They have that space, they have that land, and that's what's quite cool. This is picture here. You can't quite see, but through the windows here is where you'll see the big copper stills. But the tour takes you kind of through the whole process. Like, so you go through everything, learn about how it's made. They take you out into the fields. You get to, you know, get some hops in your hand, that sort of stuff. So it's really cool. And I highly recommend. And it's a really inexpensive tour. I think it's about $12 or $13. Gift shop, obviously, to take your beers home. They do beers that are local to that brewery as well, and lots of kind of fun stuff. So really cool place just to go and hang out. So that's why I highly recommend it as a bit of a hidden gem, or a place to go. Most people probably don't realize you can do that.
Yeah.
So Nick's Cove, Emma, I think I'm just going to let you speak about Nick's Cove.
I was like, oh, I love it. So this was the other place that I was talking about being my favorite spot. It is just, it's magical. So Nick's Cove is it's actually a restaurant and a bar, but also has a selection of cabins that you can book for overnight stays. And it's located in Tamales Bay, which is it's just north of San Francisco, basically in Marin County. So if you were to go over the Golden Gate Bridge, you're driving north as if you were going to Napa or Sonoma. You sort of stick to the coastline, and Tamales Bay is a little inlet that sits between San Francisco and Sonoma. And it's where they have lots of oyster farms. So if anyone's been to the San Francisco Ferry Market and had Hog Island oysters, that's where their farm is located. They catch them all there. So, and actually Rick Stein, if anyone watched his Road to Mexico, he went to Hog Island Oyster Company in Tamales Bay and shucked for oysters. But it's just a really, again, hidden gem that people will often drive past. Quite a few different properties that you can book in Tamales Bay. Nick's Cove is personally my favorite one, but if you didn't want to stay overnight there, just a great spot to go and have some lunch or have some dinner. They have live bands, very, very low key, but yeah, just really, really relaxed. I would recommend it to anybody. Have a Google, see where it's located, and as I said, you'll see there's other properties around there, so it's a great spot if you just wanted to go and get some fresh oysters, really. But Tamales Bay, really, really recommend people stopping off and doing either a day or a couple of nights there. They've got a great tasting room, Hedron Meadery. So they do sparkling wine, obviously infused with honey from their bees that they have on site there, all like totally sustainable as well. And then what's that little town? Is it Point Reyes? Yeah, and they've got a great little cheese shop there as well, like pure kind of Americana small town feel. But lots of cool things. If someone's heading up out of the city, and they're on their way to wine country, I would get them to stop in Tamales Bay. Yeah.
Awesome. So there's some more insider tips for you. Paso Robles. So back on the Central Coast. And so I have to highlight this. This is something that's absolutely spectacular. So this is from Serio, is an art installation just outside the town of Paso Robles. And it's just a sea of lights as it looks. Obviously, it opens in the evening, and you walk through the field. They call it a field of lights. It was the artist whose name totally escaped me at the moment. But he originally did the first installation in Ayers Rock in Australia, and then the second kind of iteration is here. Bruce Monroe, thank you, Tom, appreciate that. So yeah, Bruce has done this, and they keep expanding it actually, so it continues to get bigger and bigger. They take more space, but lots of cool lights, and it's just a really cool thing to walk through. I've actually been working with the guys down in SoCal the last couple of months, trying to work out how we and working with the team here to get this accessible through to be bookable, so you could pre-book this for your clients. But it's at the moment we're not quite there yet, but we're working on that. I hope to have it ready for next year, depending on how long they extend the exhibition for. But I believe one of the cool things as well is they have like a VIP area, so you can go and have some dinner and some wine, and then you can go and walk through, and it's just a really cool experience. And it takes you probably a good hour, depends, about an hour or so, just to walk through it. And it's really just, yeah, the lights change, and just the way it sits in the landscape is pretty incredible. Jen did the one in Ayers Rock, and it was amazing. Yeah, I can imagine that would have been pretty cool too. We're going to jump all the way back down to LA. Again, so I love West Hollywood. I always talk about West Hollywood. It's like one of my favorite places. So most people probably don't know Fairfax. Fairfax is right by the farmers market. So for those that wanted to do the farmers market and the Grove in LA, it is on Fairfax, but this is just north of that. So if you head up north, just before you get to Melrose, there's a little section which we call Fairfax. And I just like to highlight this is a really cool area. So you've got Cantor's, which is that kind of restaurant front center screen, which is a really cool deli, like 24-hour deli. It's a Jewish deli. Really popular to see celebs. Like celebs love to go in there late at night and eat, and just like really kind of old school, a bit of an old school Hollywood vibe. I love Fairfax because it's kind of the height of like LA fashion. So lots of trainer stores and up and coming LA designers they kind of get their breaks from there. So that's quite a cool area to do, and it's kind of right on the corner. So yeah, Fairfax and Melrose in that kind of little strip there. So it's just something that's a little bit different. It's worth going and exploring for a couple of hours on your trip in LA, and it just gives you more of a local, authentic LA vibe and takes you outside of just doing the classic Universal, Santa Monica, etc. It kind of gets you like really under the skin, I think, of LA, and it's definitely really cool. I think if I lived in LA, I'd want to live in and around this area just because it's really cool and edgy, and totally safe. But yes, Fairfax area. Do we have any more questions? We've got so much we could talk about, but obviously we still only have a limited amount of time. We missed, I'm sure, a ton of areas. We haven't got to Laguna Beach, or Dana Point, which are really cool areas down on the kind of coast, or even some of the stuff on the Central Coast that we've kind of missed. But has anyone got any questions for us while you have us? Anything that maybe your clients are?
There was the wine country question.
There was a wine country question, actually. Michael asked what our favorite wines are and what's our favorite wine regions. So Emma, why don't you tell us first what your favorite wine region is?
Well, I do like Sonoma. I think if you have clients who want to go wine tasting but haven't done it before and might feel a little unsure about what to expect, I always say, well, California is as relaxed as they come. So there's nothing to be, apprehensive about if someone isn't sure about it. But I think Sonoma tends to be a little more relaxed sometimes in the wineries. Napa's wineries can feel sometimes a little bigger. But I mean, each of them, I would have people do a little bit of reading into what type of wine they like, because obviously each region has a speciality. So it depends, if you prefer your Pinots, or obviously your Chardonnays, or whatever it is you're looking for. But yeah, I think also down in Temecula, that's another region that we didn't talk about, but right down by sort of near Borrego, actually, where Brendan first kicked off. That's a great little wine region down in the south.
That's my favorite.
Very, very. Yeah, so Temecula is another one. If someone is in Southern California, south of LA, and they want to go wine tasting, they can do it in Temecula. They don't have to go up to the Central Coast to go and do the wine tasting. But yeah, I think I would just say read into what kind of wine you like, and then you can take it from there and figure out which region might be better for you.
Yeah, I totally agree. I love Pinot Noir, so the Sonoma, Santa Barbara, Santa Ynez, like that kind of regions for me are my favorite. I love Temecula because Temecula is so yeah, like Emma said, it's down near San Diego, kind of almost flanking between San Diego and Palm Springs, just outside kind of LA. It's just a really cool area. It's amazing. Like you go into a tasting room and you're sat there just chatting to them, and probably is the winemaker or the owner of the vineyard. And I think that's quite cool. You get that kind of real authentic experience. And yeah, I think I loved it because I had such a special time there too. I took a fam group there a couple of years ago, and we just had like the most amazing day, just drinking wine and just yeah, we went on a hot air balloon in the morning. That was pretty cool over the vineyards to get like perspective, and then spent the day wine tasting, and it was really fun. So like highly recommend that region. Amelia's asked a question and said, for a one-night stop during Highway 1 between Monterey and Santa Barbara, we stay in San Luis Obispo rather than Pismo, Cambria, or San Simeon? Great question. Very great question. I'll answer this personally. They're different, so it depends what the client wants. They're all really cool, and actually, it's funny that you mention this because I think in a month or two's time, I'm going to do a Central Coast slow San Luis Obispo focus series, just to kind of understand that a little bit more. But Pismo is really cool because you're on the beach, kind of like Cambria, San Simeon. Like the beaches are really cool because you are on the beach. Being San Luis Obispo, you're kind of inland. I mean, you're still close to the beach, don't get me wrong, but you are inland. SLO University Town has a really cool farmers market, so it has a really fun vibe. has a really fun vibe there, and you're really close to all the, excuse me, you're in and around all the vineyards as well. So that's what's really cool. So it kind of depends on the client. San Simeon's good if you're going to do Hearst Castle. I would personally probably do Pismo over San Simeon, especially because you're just pushing a little bit further south. And San Simeon, you kind of got
there's not much
there.
in San Simeon, I think.
Yeah. Where Pismo's just got a little bit more to do. Cambria, same sort of deal. I think it's just a little bit more to do in Pismo. So if you're doing a beach side, I tend to recommend Pismo. But I mean, they're all quite cool.
I'd also say if you, and I have to mention this on anything I do with California, but I'm obsessed with sea otters. So if you have clients who, well, even if they don't think they're into sea otters, they will be after they see them. But Morro Bay, which is within that region, and a really easy drive, sort of, I think it's about half an hour, Morro Bay to get down to Pismo, if I'm correct in thinking. But it's they're all very, very close by. If you go up to Morro Bay, it has a big rock just out by the sea, but you can drive out there and you can see lots of sea otters in the wild in that bay area, and you can actually kayak down there as well, and so you can kayak with the sea otters, which is a really special experience, and they're really cute. So I would definitely recommend, if someone's staying in Pismo or San Luis Obispo and they're looking for something to do that's pretty special, to go out there and see the sea otters, and maybe do a kayak trip as well. So
awesome. Michael asked Disney, Universal, Knott's Berry, Six Flags, when are they opening? They are opening soon. Exciting for us in California is stuff opens from June 15th. This kind of weekend coming, we're going to start we're going to start to see all our hotels open, which is really exciting. That we're finally kind of getting moving. We can start getting people staying. Disney and Universal, like imminently, still waiting for a date. It's all been pending governor's approval, which sounds like it should be happening kind of very imminently to get them up and running. I was talking to the Universal guys, and they're hoping to be up and running by the end of June for people. So we're almost there. We're getting there. We are reopening. Yosemite actually reopens officially today, albeit on a reduced schedule. But exciting that we're getting stuff opening up, and our hotels will be back ready to receive guests, and hopefully we can get some of our UK guests out there before the end of the summer through, ideally.
Yeah, I think that's a good point to make. Flights will be opening back up. Obviously, people actually getting on a plane and traveling out there is a different matter, but we hope they will. But yeah, they're entering phase 3 out of 4 into the reopening of California. And so restaurants, hotels, sort of tomorrow and over the weekend will start to open up safely. And things like Yosemite National Park, they have certain systems in place at the moment, but they will hopefully try and reduce that as the months go on. But it's just to make sure there's a safe experience for everybody. But really positive timing that we're doing this webinar, and this weekend we're entering that next phase for California.
Yeah. So anyone have any final questions before we sign off for the day? If not, again, massive thanks, Emma, for joining me today. I'm sure they're sick of just hearing me every day, so it's nice to have you join us. Hope people have learned something, and I hope this has been fun and kind of something that's a little bit more informative. If you want us to do it again, let us know too. Feel free to just drop me a note. Maybe we can do a part 2 with some more stuff.
I'd love to. Thank you for having me, guys. Honestly, Brenda and I talk about California every day as it is on the phone, and just about how much we love it. So this for us is just a normal chat about like, oh, remember when we did this, or I can't wait to do that. We're more than happy to come on, and if there's anything you guys want to see or specialist stuff, like, we would love to talk to you about it. We've both been doing this job for a long time, so I have a lot of knowledge that we're happy to share and talk about.
Perfect. Well, guys, have a fantastic rest of your afternoon. Have a great weekend. I will see you soon next week. I'm having a break just from webinars. I'm still working, but Adam's going to do some stuff on Pittsburgh, and I think Bethan's going to talk Seattle next week, other Black Diamond clients. But yeah, everyone have a great rest of your day, great weekend, and we will see you next time.
Yeah, perfect.
See you guys.
See ya.